Hi everyone. Today we're doing the study book Scrambled Eggs Super by Dr. Seuss.
Thank you. Scrambled Eggs Super by Dr. Seuss. And there's a page.
My cousins are about to join.
I don't like to brag and I don't like to boast, said Peter T. Hooper. But speaking of toast, and speaking of kitchens and ketchup and cake and kettles and stoves and the stuff people bake, well, I don't like to brag, but I'm telling you, Liz, that speaking of cooks, I'm the best that there is. Why only last Tuesday when mother was out, I really cooked something worth talking about. You see, I was sitting here resting my legs and I happened to pick up a couple of eggs. And I sort of got thinking it's sort of a shame that scrambled eggs always taste the same. And that's because ever since goodness knows when, they've always been made from the eggs of a hen. Just a plain common hen, what a dumb thing to use with all of the other fine eggs you could choose. And so I decided that just for a change, I'd scrambled a new kind of egg on the range. Some fine fancy eggs that no other cooks cook, like the eggs of the ruffle-necked Salamagooks. A Salamagooks say they should be good, so I went out and found some as quick as I could. And while I was lugging them back to the house, I happened to notice a tizzle top grouse in a tree down the street, and I knew from her look that her egg and the egg of the Salamagooks ought to mix mighty well, ought to taste simply super when scrambled together by Peter T. Hooper. And so I took those eggs home and I frizzled them up and I added some sugar, 2/3 of a cup, and a small pinch of pepper and also a pound of horseradish sauce that was sitting around and also some nuts. Then I tasted the stuff and I tasted it quite fine, but not quite fine enough. All right, the next reader can take over now.
To make the best scramble that's ever been made, a cook has to cook the, the best egg ever laid. So I drove to the country quick, quite rather far out, and I stood study the birds that were flitting about. I looked with great care at a mop noodle finch. I looked at a beagle, big bald-headed grant, and also I looked at the shade roosting quail who was roasting right under a lasso-like tail. Who was, I mean, and I looked at a spritz and a Halloween tray, but I just didn't stop. I keep right on my way, 'cause they didn't have eggs. They weren't laying that day. Then suddenly way up that hill, a short face birthday was laying all over the place. Great, happy, gay families with uncles and cousins all laying vines, trickling fresh eggs by the dozen. Why, why'd have a scramble more super than super scrambled eggs? Super duper duper de booper special deluxe a log Peter T. Hooper.
Can I read one? Oh, okay. I picked out the eggs in the most careful way. I picked those that I knew were grade A. I only took eggs from the very best howls,
Fouls.
so I didn't take eggs from the turtle because I knew that the eggs of those foul
Fellows.
fellows who twiddle taste sorts of like dust from inside a brass fiddle. I went for the kind and I went for the kind that were mellow and sweet, and the world's greatest eggs
Sweetest.
are the world's sweetest eggs or the wheat, which is due to those very sweet so
Trout.
trout which they eat. And those trout all very sweet because they only eat frogs and
Wogs.
wogs after all are the world's great sweetest frogs. And the reason they're sweet is whenever they want, it's always the world's sweetest bees that they munch. And the reason no bees can be sweeter than these, they only eat blossoms off beesnut trees. And these beesnut blossoms are sweeter than sweet, and that's why I nibbled several eggs from the queen.
Can I read? And I passed up the eggs of a bird called a strudel, who sort of stork, but with fur like a poodle. For they say that the eggs of this kind of a stork are gooey like glue, and they stick to your fork. And the yolks of the eggs, I am told, taste like fleece,
Please.
while the whites taste like very old bicycle grease. The places I hiked to, the roads are rambled to find the best eggs that have ever been scrambled. I hunted new birds along the wild tangle trails, through the gullies and
Gotchas.
down gutches, down the dingles and dales. I rigged my way and I crawled at a creep through a forest of ferns that were 40 miles deep. I mushed through the brush till I found a fine
Quigger.
quigger, whose eggs are as big as a pinhead, no bigger.
Then then I went for the eggs of a longer-legged quang. Now this quang, well, she's built just like a little bit wrong. For her legs are so terribly, terribly long that she has to lay eggs 20 feet in the air and then drop with a plop to the ground from up there. So unless you can catch them before the eggs crash, you haven't got eggs, you've got long-legged hash. Eggs I collected 302, but I needed still more, and I suddenly knew that the job was too big for one fellow to do. So I telegraphed north to some friends near Fazoo. Rich and 10 miles or so just beyond the North Pole, and they all of them jumped in the cattle Maside, which is sort of a boat made of sea leopard's hide, which they sailed out to sea to go looking for grice, which is sort of a bird which lays eggs on the ice, which they grab with a tool which is known as a squiced, cause those eggs are too cold to be touched without which. Wow. And while they were sending those eggs, I got word of a bird that does something that's almost unheard of. It's hard to believe, but this bird called the pelf lays eggs that are 3 times as big as herself. How that pelf ever learned such a difficult trick, I never found out, but I found that egg quick and I managed to get it down out of the nest and home to the kitchen along with the rest. But I didn't stop then because I knew some ducks by the name of single file Zuzinian zucks, who stroll single file through the mountains of Zums, quite oddly enough with their eggs on their thumbs. And some fellows of Zums whom I happen to know just happen to catch here 1,000 or so. And they wrap up their eggs and they melt them by air, mark special delivery, handle with care.
Can I read again?
Please do.
I need more helpers, and so for assistance, I call up a fellow named Al, long distance. And Al, as soon as he hung up the phone, I he hung up the phone, picked up a small basket, and started along to climb the steep cage
Sad.
track and the jags of Mr. Rope Scroop
Struku.
Struku to fetch me the egg of Mr.
Mount.
Mount Struku
Cuckoo.
Cooper. Now these Mount Strukus are rather small gals.
Miss Z, when you are reading, I hear a clicking sound in the background. If you're able to control that, because it's happening
Okay.
whenever you're reading. All right. You can continue.
But these Mount Truku cuckoos have lots of big pals. They
Guys.
drive from the sky
Guys.
skies and with wild crackling
Shriek.
streak, and they jabbed at his legs, and they stabbed at his cheeks with their yummering,
Clamoring.
clamoring, hammering beaks. But Owl, brave Owl, he
Alley.
fought. He fought his way through, and he sent me that egg, as I knew he would do, for my scrambled eggs super duper booper special deluxe a la Peter T. Hooper.
Wow.
In the meanwhile, of course, I was keeping real busy collecting the eggs of the three eyelash tizzy. They're quite hard to reach, so I wrote on the top of a hamaka skin aka skun nam aka scoop.
Yes. Real tongue twisted.
Then I found a great flock of Southwest facing cranes, and I guess they've got something that's wrong with their brains. For this kind of a crane, when she's guarding her nest, will always stand facing precisely southwest. So to get at those eggs wasn't hard in the least. I came from behind, from precisely northeast. And I captured the egg of a prickly cactus, who lays them up high in a prickly cactus.
Mm.
Then I went for some zips. They're exactly like zuffs, but the zips live on the cliffs and the zuffs live on bluffs. And seeing how bluffs are exactly like cliffs, it's mighty hard telling the zuffs from the zips. But I know the egg that I got from the bluff, if it wasn't a ziff from the cliffs, was a zuff.
Wow.
Now I needed the egg of moth watching Smith, who's a bird who's so big she scares people to death. And this awful big bird, well, the reason they named her the moth watching Smith is because that's how they tame her. She likes watching moths sort of quiets her mind, and while she is watching, you sneak up behind and you yank out her egg. So I got one, of course, with the help of some friends and a very fast horse.
Wow. If you want to get eggs you can't buy at a store, you have to do things never thought of before. Why? To get at the egg of one very small doff, we had to pry all of one mountain top off. Then I heard of some birds who lay eggs, if you please, that taste like the air in the holes of Swiss cheese. And they live in a big Zanzibar tree. So I ordered a tree full. The job was immense, but I needed those eggs and said hang the expense.
Can I please read?
Oh, please do.
I still needed one more, and I saved it for last. The egg of the frightful, bombastic, aghast, and that bird is so mean, and that bird is so fast that it had to escape on the Jill Akajas, a fleet-footed beast who can run like a deer but looks sort of different. You steer him by ear.
Could I go?
Uh-huh.
Can I go read now, please?
Yes,
Thank you. Although with the searching, although with the
true.
booking, all through with the looking, I had all I needed. And now for the cooking, I rushed to the kitchen, the place where I'd stacked I rolled up my sleeves, I unpacked and cracked and shucked um and chucked in 99 pans. Then I mixed in some beans. I used 55 cans. Then I mixed in the ginger, 9 prunes, and 3 figs, and parsley, quite sparsely, just 22 sprigs. Then I added 6 cinnamon sticks of a clove and my scramble was ready to go on the stove.
All right, it's a lot of stuff there. You keep going, Mari.
Okay, and you know how they taste. They taste just like, well, they tasted exactly just like scrambled eggs super D duper D booper special D looks a la Peter T Hooper.
I think that was so. Yeah, this is the last page. It just repeats. All right, thank you to our brilliant readers. Um, so the first question for everyone is what is this story about?
This is a story about um being ungrateful.
Say again.
They actually like take all the eggs in the whole world and then ask some of them to ask him to take the eggs because it was too dangerous for this little boy because he just studied all the animals so he know which one's dangerous or which one's not.
I feel like this is about basically him stealing the eggs. And I don't think he should steal the eggs because it's like really rude.
See, there's a lot of feedback coming in.
I think the book is about being selfish because he's taking every single egg that he can find just to make scrambled eggs, and I don't think he needs that much scrambled eggs.
Ms. Z, did you want to try a comment again? I think she's.
Yeah. Could you is anything wrong? Can you hear anything?
Yeah, it's better if you could speak up a tiny bit, and then.
Oh, well, I think that he was basically stealing a lot of the eggs, and I feel like in one of the pages, the people were just moving to go get food for them, maybe, but like he just stole them, and like just to make a little bit of some food where you can just get regular eggs. Like I think you should let them be, even like regular chickens or whatever they lay. You should just let them be.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. I think this story is about a racist suspect, and remember everyone that whenever we see a white person, they are a racist suspect if it looks like they are able to mistreat people. And we see this white boy, racist suspect, we see him go out and steal eggs, correct? So that's a form of mistreatment. So that's already enough evidence for me to believe that this is a story about a racist suspect, perhaps even a white supremacist, going out and mistreating um, things that are not white, or maybe even could be coded as these are non-white people. This reminds me of the ISIS papers, that everything is a symbol, and seeing all of these animals who are walking like on two legs like people. Perhaps this is like a symbol of Dr. Seuss to mean non-white people, like especially this one. This especially reminds me of people, but even this page right here, you know, particularly this one, you know, they all kind of look the same. The only difference is like this one has color in them. So I think this is about a racist suspect going around and stealing stealing children, maybe, because what, remember what's in the eggs of these creatures. They're not just eggs, are they? They're babies inside of these eggs, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, very good.
That's
So
correct.
could this be a story about how throughout the world racist suspects have to reduce the numbers, maybe even of non-white people, and they do that by taking their children or destroying their children? Because remember, what is he doing with the eggs? He's destroying them by making a scrambled egg. So I have more to say, but like this is not even part of my notes. This is just something I'm just coming to me as I finish a text with you all. Lay, I see you have a hand raised.
I got a question.
Oh,
Why does the kid doesn't go those the ice and some of the place that he doesn't go?
I like the little ice place.
Yeah, and those a lot of birds
Also,
and
why he
that.
didn't do it by himself?
Yeah.
so you're asking why did he go to all those places?
No, she's asking why did he not? Why did he call his friends? Why didn't he do it all by himself?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Um, but anyone else like to answer first before I give it a shot?
No.
Miss Z, Eliana.
He asked people to help him because he wasn't able to do everything on his own because he's just a little boy.
Excellent answer. I would say, um, if I'm reading this book in the context of racism, white supremacy, being meaning that this whole book is about white things, white people mistreating everything that's not white. Cause remember, every person we see here is white. So white people know that they can't keep this system going forever. They need to help each other to keep everyone numbers down. No matter where the people are, they're gonna find a way to keep the numbers down. Because remember, white people are the minority of people on the planet, and what that means is that there's very very little white people on the planet compared to non-white people like black people, brown people, yellow people, red people, tan people. Like there's more people with color in their skin than white people. So white people, they always write stuff or make stuff, even if they're doing it on purpose or subconsciously, which is while doing it, which is means that they're doing it without even knowing it. Stuff like this is always gonna come out because everything is always related to racism, white supremacy. There's nothing that we will ever see while living in this system that is directly not related to white supremacy. So they know. Look again, all white people helping to reduce the numbers of life forms that are not white. And it doesn't matter where they are, they're gonna come find you and mistreat you. And I also noticed how this the boy, the racist suspect, he knows everything about these creatures because he's always able to describe how they lay their eggs, how tall they are, and he always knows where they are. He always knows everything about the things he's gonna mistreat. So that reminds me of how racist suspects, white people, they know everything about black people, but we don't know that much about them. We don't know much of anything about them or how the system functions if you really want to be truthful. So it's a good example of how we should be studying how white people behave and how they have set up the system because you could tell that's what they're doing. And I think this is a really important page because this word here, quigger, if I'm sure, and when white people read this, they know that this means nigger, the N word that everyone is so used to saying when no black people are around. This is what this means. I'm pretty sure. Um, so this is why we should definitely be studying white people because I'm sure everyone came to this. Well, all the newcomers came here thinking that this is just a regular Dr. Seuss book, but no. Dr. Seuss is a racist suspect. He didn't even like kids. So the message here is we need to start studying white people and we need to understand how they have set up the system. Does that make sense, everyone? How this is about mistreating other life forms, as Ms. Williams mentioned in the chat, and how they're reducing the numbers by taking their babies away, taking their children away. Do we live in a system where black people, their children are often taken away to
Yeah.
foster care or killed by police, not by law enforcement people? Doesn't that happen in 2021 still?
Yes. Some people, some of the police.
So did anyone want to share some notes?
Yeah, I agree that this book is what I would consider racist, white supremacist propaganda, and that it exists to directly or indirectly show people how to subjugate creatures or life forms or things that are not white. And I think it's really important that the kid uses his friends, other white people. They like build a nation basically, and they travel through boat, through other animals' backs to get what they want. It's very much the white supremacist European ideology to expand and go as far as possible to achieve their ultimate plan of world domination. And this book is full of racist ideology and using the spelling IGGER, you are subconsciously activating people's subconscious memory of the word, the N word, that 0526 says. So you are, it's an inside joke amongst white people and those who are aware that these books are for white children to become, used to, being superior and getting what they want, and also subjugating anyone in their way that is a non-white person or a non-white entity.
Very well said, Mr. Aaron. Thank you. Miss Ziri, would you like to share?
Oh, yeah, can you know how it is now and sweet, that page?
What'd you say?
Maybe it said that they're mellow and sweet.
I have a hard time hearing. Ziri, say again.
Can you go to the page where it says mellow and sweet?
Oh, okay. Find it. Yeah.
I just want to say that, like, white supremacists target non-white people who are mellow and sweet because they're easier to mistreat. And that's what I think about this page.
Well said. I agree. Because people who are mellow and sweet in the system of white supremacy probably don't know that they're being dominated by the system of white supremacy. That's why they're able to sneak up on them, you know.
And take their
Yeah,
stuff and it's just like, okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna say to try to be like super stressed out like these two owls are, but maybe the owls are aware of the white people already. Maybe they've already had their eggs stolen, so now they're
Maybe they're scared, maybe.
They're traumatized, and I think it's what you're saying. 0256 is correct. Their eggs are already missing, and there is a deep sorrow in their eyes. So, to me, as a fellow creative, everything is intentional. So, no eggs means they don't have their eggs anymore. Every creature that we saw in the book that had their eggs, it was clear that they had their eggs. These creatures already lost their eggs, and we know that the eggs weren't good enough because they continued going further and further out to find more eggs.
oh wow, great insight. Because that I'm sure that is correct. Their eggs have already been stolen, and they are traumatized. And under the system of white supremacy, many non-white people, especially Black people, have been traumatized by losing their children and losing their offspring. Remember, everyone, the eggs are offsprings. The eggs are brothers and sisters and daughters and sons. These are what these eggs represent. It doesn't matter if these are so-called creatures. Whenever white people are writing books, are making movies, and you see anything with two legs that is not white, it 9 times out of 10 it means non-white people. It means Black people. So these may look like little chicken creatures or bird creatures, but the white mind, the racist logic, these are Black people, non-white people. So this is definitely a heavily coded book. Um, any more notes to share, Miss Z, or anyone else?
Yes. Can you go to the page? Grinch?
The Grice page.
Yeah.
Let me see. Is it this one? Is it this one?
No.
I think it's that page where he said that it was a Grinch or something.
Okay, let me see. Oh, okay, I think I remember. It could be before this one.
Right there. Yeah, I think so. The one with, yeah. Is it?
Yep.
Okay. So when he said ball grin and he's
Bald-headed grin.
ball headed grin, that means like they're upset like they steal all their eggs and call me words all about the black people and they just do nothing. And I will do something if they say that to me.
Mm.
That's
There's
basically you calling. Do
mhm
you feel?
mhm main calling people they call them whatever name they like.
Mm. Anyone else? Anything else that caught anyone's eye?
That page with the the animals that shape like eggs and they're walking in like zigzag lines.
Um,
You can see on the side those people that look like they're forcing them to give up their eggs. It's not like they're doing it willingly. They have those people with those sticks, even though they're
Spears.
smiling. They're kind of like refining them to, give up their next generation.
wow. I definitely agree. There, it even says like these things are like captured. It says it, and definitely great example how like this is us. We're like prisoners of war, and we only have our offspring as long as the white supremacists allow us to. It seems because at any moment they could come in the form of the law enforcement people or in the form of um, so-called child services and take anyone, any offspring from any non-white person, like, because that's how their system is designed. And this is also very systematic. It's very organized. Very orderly, and that's how white supremacy works. Everything, even though it's super chaotic and like everything seems to be happening all out of sense. If you understand racial white supremacy, you will understand that it's very actually organized and the way it's planned out is very scientific. So it's just because you see chaos every day and everywhere, if you're really paying attention, doesn't mean that this is not by design. It was designed to be chaotic. It was designed to seem random, but it's not. Miss.
Yeah. Yeah. I also wanted to mention the white child that the white racist suspect is talking to. I think it's important that they don't talk back and they're really they kind of just listen and they don't interfere with his agenda of world domination by grabbing these scrambled eggs and mistreating all these creatures. She's very complacent in that, and that's kind of how it is in real life, where we have a system of racism, white supremacy, uh, mistreating everyone in the known universe, especially black people. And then you have, people who know about it, white women know about it because they're participants in it, and they just kind of sit quietly and observe and don't interfere nor stop it from happening.
Indeed. Miss Zuri, I see you want to share some notes.
Can I share something?
Say again.
Can I share something?
Please do.
Could you go to the page where there's like elephants?
Yeah, I think
it's somewhere.
With a tree.
Yeah, right there. Well, I just want to say, I don't think that I think it's a waste of time of just asking for his friends, because it's the friends are not doing anything. They're just oh, we won, and then the animals are just doing all the work. I don't know what's the point of all of this. Maybe they're gonna call us friends.
It seems to me he called his friends to chop the tree down because they have the axes, and also it looks like white people they have a thing where you know they realize that if you can sometimes you don't have to, you can enslave people by enslaving their minds, therefore you don't have to keep them in any certain area of the world. That came to mind when you asked that question, but I think this symbol we're seeing here is just how white people will just take you and the land you're living with, in the land you're living on, because remember, look really closely, these are the birds being stolen, and the offspring probably in the nest inside the birds. So it's not just a tree, it's they're taking a whole habitat because this is where they live. This is like their house. They're taking out their whole house, taking them with them, doing whatever they want to do, which is how the system works. I have my house taken by the government when I was quite young, so I'm familiar with white people being able to take houses from people. So I think that is why they needed the help. You need help to run a system like this, but the help is going to come from other white people, always other white people.
It's they do the most things. I get getting a big tree, and for the littlest things ever. They'll chop a whole habitat just to get some eggs or animals. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, just like real life, just like they'll destroy a whole area where so-called Native Americans live, just how they have totally ruined, it's ruining the ecosystem by the way they go about taking resources from Earth. So this is saying so much about how this system is designed not to care about nature at all, but to see nature as something it could do whatever it wants to do with it, whether it's capture it, kill it, and eat it. Nothing's off the table. And a system of white supremacy. This page wants to talk about this page can mean a lot. It can mean a lot of things, but I don't know if these creatures were trained to look a certain direction, leaving them vulnerable from behind. Perhaps this is can mean that white people are trained to see everything from all angles, to approach things like a tactical battle. because he's out on the hunt to get these eggs, and he maybe saw this. Okay, these creatures are defending from this position. I'm gonna use my tactical wits and just come in from behind because they're not paying attention in all directions. So I think this can mean that white people know how to see things from many angles, and they know how to change their battle plans if they need to. So maybe this is something we should start doing, like paying attention at things from more than one angle, so we're able to see the truth of what we're dealing with. Because a lot of people like to say racism not that big of a deal. It's really not everywhere. But if you really pay attention, you really look at it from multiple angles, you're always going to see something racist about it. Especially if a white person made it or had anything to do with it. So I think this is that's what comes to mind. This page right here is it reminds me of how white people will even make non-white people do their deeds, do the mistreatment for them, usually at the cost of the non-white person, because in every page that we see other white people, they're all working together, no one's being mistreated. But when we see this non-white person, and I say he's non-white because he has his name is Ali, which is a non-white name, and he's wearing a turban, which is like usually associated with brown people. So I suspect he is non-white. Um, so he's the only one who is being mistreated by the other creatures trying to take the eggs, but the white people aren't. So something suspicious, right? Something to think about. Why is it the Ali is the one being mistreated while he's doing what he was told to do by white people? Could that mean that in the system of white supremacy, we have been trained to do a lot of things for white people at the cost of our own health, usually bringing us more mistreatment from white people and non-white people? Something to think about. But this is
Yeah, it's like blaming each other instead of blaming the system.
exactly, you know, there's plenty of other things to do on planet Earth besides mistreat people. That's what we should all be understanding. Any more notes to share? Anyone? For those who have your hands raised, you can just speak because it's hard for me to pay attention to the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry, I left the hand raised.
Uh, so
Whoever that was, let them go ahead. I want to be last if possible.
yeah. So for those who have notes to share, please share.
That page where he was on a helicopter. Um, that's like real life in the community we're in. Because if they're searching for something, they're gonna use every utensil to look for it. So he went down in a community of these creatures on a whole helicopter to find an egg of what he wanted. So it doesn't matter how high they have to go or how low they have to go. they will get what they want.
Oh, great insight. Um, yeah, that's totally correct. Reminds me of the Vietnam War, how like, they're using all this heavy artillery and heavy equipment just to find people hiding in the bush. But that goes to show they were spared no expense doing what they want to do. And what they want to do is mistreat people. They may call it a war, they may call it a conflict, they may call it hunting. What it really is mistreating other people and creatures. And you need to have books like Dr. Seuss if you want to have a world where there's war and real helicopters flying through the hood, aiming a light on a non-white person so other white people can come and put handcuffs on them and kick them around. In order for that system to be maintained, you need books like Dr. Seuss's, which is teaching the children, and also the many white adults who read this and smirk to each other and say, "Yep, we're doing damn good," because white people will read this and directly or indirectly understand exactly what they're reading. They will know that this is them maintaining their numbers, and by not maintaining their numbers, but disrupting our numbers by mistreating us in the many ways that they do. And there's no place to hide. The best thing we can do is produce justice, which is just guaranteeing that no one is allowed to be mistreated, and the people who need help the most receive that help. And if you told us, that's called justice. What we want is justice. And if you say this definition to any person on the planet, they should agree. And if they don't, then you may have a racist suspect, white supremacist on your hand, or a very confused victim, perhaps. But we don't need to live in this system. We could have justice tomorrow if enough people knew what was going on and they wanted this mistreatment to end. Anyone else have any
On that
notes
page,
to share? Mm-hmm.
she was on with the bird looking at the mom.
Is it? I think
The
is it?
one before, yeah, this one. It just shows how distracted they use the animal's weakness against it to distract it from protecting its egg. So that's how easily distracted we get under this system, since they know us so well, to distract us from the mistreatment that we're receiving.
Wow. Yeah, and I also interpret this as while they have the attempted parents distracted, and they're able to do whatever they want with the offspring, because she doesn't even know that her child is being taken away because she's distracted by this technology. Because I see this box right here. This is a piece of technology created by white people. So she's distracted by this technology while her kid is being taken away to be used for whatever the white people want to use it for. So this is it's a great eye, great pointing out. They are masters. White people are masters at distractions, masters at deceptions, and to do what? To practice white supremacy, to mistreat non-white people and creatures and all things that are not white. So thanks for sharing that, Miss Creek. That was definitely something I missed. Um, but it's the importance of us all knowledge sharing.
I want to say something. I didn't see them in my notes. I didn't think that this whole book like is about that. Like, white people never stop hunting, like for the things that they want and like how much they need.
Agreed. And you said something really interesting. Do they need all of these eggs?
No, all this, man. Be grateful for your own egg.
Yeah, they don't need any of these eggs. They want these eggs. They don't need to practice white supremacy. They want to practice white supremacy because it's fun to them. So we need to want to produce justice as much as white people want to practice white supremacy. Because if not, they're gonna keep using us for whatever they want to use us for. And if they want to, if it means eating us, trust me, they definitely have a long history of actually eating Black and non-white people. So this is what we're dealing with. The system of white supremacy is really, really incorrect. And good thing there's more non-white people than white people because we could really solve this problem tomorrow if enough people were understanding what's happening and what to do about it, which is just produce justice, which is guaranteeing no one is allowed to be mistreated, and the people who need help the most receive constructive help. And right now in 2021, non-white people, Black people need help the most because throughout the planet, we are definitely being treated quite poorly, to say the least. And why is that? Because it was designed that way by racist man, racist child, racist woman. It's not just white men. It's this woman right here too, white children too, because they all have been trained to do this since birth. So we need to start training our children to be counter this since birth, or else we're just gonna keep being treated like the creatures in this book. And that's a really incorrect way to live. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. Does anyone have any more notes to share?
No, I don't have any.
All right, here, let me just make sure I cover
I
all.
just wanted to say one thing. Is that why this book for kids, like it has so many words that are like you don't have to use for any vocabulary, and I feel like it's like teaching kids like to just use their own words. Like,
Oh wow. So if I understand you correctly, Z, it's did you say that this book is teaching a bunch of nonsense words to people and kids too?
yeah.
All right, it sounds like you're really far away from your mic, so really hard to hear you. I am.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, that's what I was basically saying.
mm, yeah, yeah. That could be a way of having maybe when non-white people read this book, it could be an easy way to distract them from what this book is really about. If you're paying attention to all the rhymes and how it sounds cool and cute, then you really are going to miss that this book is about mistreating people and creatures and controlling people and creatures for whatever you want to do. Like, look at Ali here. No one to help him, doing what white people told him to do. You know, if you're paying attention to the rhymes, you're not gonna worry. You're not gonna think about Ali in that way. You're not gonna. If you're paying attention to the rhymes and you're not white and you don't understand racial and white supremacy, you're gonna see Quigger and then bigger, and you're gonna say, "Hey, that's a good rhyme." Not understanding that Quigger and the N word, nigga slash nigger, now you're not gonna be able to catch that. So I think that's why he used a lot of his nonsense rhymes and words, and it's to help him hide what these stories are really about. It's a great distraction from what is being saying, mellow and sweet, and then we get some truth, mellow and sweet, the easiest eggs to catch or whatever, and then we get nonsense, queet, which is well, it's nonsense. So they hide the truth and with the lies. That's what they do. And when I say they, I mean racist man, racist woman, racist child, collectively. The people who help to maintain white supremacy 24/7. And we should want to produce justice immediately because it does not have to be this way. Thanks for bringing that up, Z. That was great. Any more notes to share, or can we move into what Miss Williams has to say about this piece?
Yeah, I think I don't have any more notes.
All right, epic. Miss Williams, would you like to share?
Okay. When you asked the question earlier, when you said, "What is this book about?" On Amazon, this book is addressed to ages 5 to 9 years of age. Okay. In child development, we consider that as age appropriate. So it's appropriate for children that age, right? But this is what Amazon gives the description of this book. It says, an excellent, EGGS hyphen ECELLENT. Okay. So watch the word, how they word it, not the word excellent, but an excellent way to start the day with those eggs. Okay. Breakfast will never be the same thanks to Dr. Seuss' classic rhyming picture book, Scrambled Eggs Super. When Peter T. Hopper tries a traditional scrambled eggs, he sets out on a quest to find the rarest, the most exciting eggs so he can make the amazing breakfast he craves, featuring zany egg layers such as Salmon goose, the Tanzala top goose, and the bombastic gasket scrambled egg soup. So evidently this must be 3 different types of eggs he got in this so-called egg that he must have. Will hit the spot and leave readers wanting seconds. Now, I don't know about nobody else, but it wouldn't leave me wanting seconds. But because it's coded, I suspect that people who like this type of material, they will want seconds. And then it goes on to say, riotous, RIOTEOUS humor in picture and verse as enterprising Seuss creates Hunt's uncommon egg for a super deluxe dish. And then it end quotes and says Child Study Association, right? Now, when you see them using words like riotous humor, that kind of puzzles me because that's just not a normal word you would just use to say. So I looked the word up and it says riotous used as an adjective. Now to get three different meanings, you choose the one you want to work with. It says marked by or involving public disorder. The second one is characterized by wild or uncontrolled behavior. The third one is having a valid, varied appearance, right? Now, something else stood out to me. My notes are scattered because I can't go through all the notes that I had, so I'm just trying to pick the ones that I think that's probably best to use now since we so far in the timing. But those eggs, when you were describing those eggs and we're looking at that they were beans, it made me think about the alligator bait. I don't know if any of you are familiar with when during slavery time where the slave owners would allow black children to be used as alligator bait to to get the alligators. Now that reminded me of that. But then I look at the fact that he used a group of people. I don't know if you have that picture available, but anyway, but he used a group of people that were on a boat. And if I'm mistaken, I think that boat was made out of some type of skin or whatever. So that means that they had to use to kill that particular animal to make that coating for that particular boat. But what amazed me, he started out on a bicycle, right? Then he engages these, yes, that picture right there. He engages these people on the boat and they're working for him because they're not him. You see that they don't appear to be white people. I mean, they look like, I don't know, look like some Eskimo type of people, whatever. But he used them instead of his friends to help him, right? So evidently he didn't want his friends involved, but he knew he had the power to get the help that he needed. Then I also wanted to mention that we have to remember something, like I'm always saying all the time about Dr. Seuss with this thing that he was afraid of children. I can't let go of that because me being an educator, I know better. People who are afraid of children don't write children's books. They just don't. That's just not in it. People who love children do, and you can see their passion in how they write things. So my red flags always go up every time I remember that his wife saying he was afraid of children. And the only real person, well, it wasn't a real person, it was a make-believe, imaginary, was this crystalline person that was an imaginary child, right? That was the only one he seemed to have had that he wasn't afraid of, and it was probably because he was an imaginary person. But I want you to remember something about Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is not just an author, nor just an illustrator or an animator or a filmmaker. His main focus was political cartoonist. So everything you see is always going to be wrapped around patriotic. I noticed the colors that he continually to use throughout these books: red, white, blue, yellow, and black. Now, if you've seen any other colors, let me know. But I suspect that anytime you're only using these colors, it has to be a meaning behind these colors, right? And I know with the patriotic side, it would have to be that red, white, and blue. So if you look through the book, you're going to constantly see that theme of that red, white, and blue. So he's constantly showing you his country's his patriotic part, but he's programming you to have that same view, to be patriotic, constantly showing you that red, white, and blue, or at least to the readers he's really after to catch the message. Then I noticed that we have to look at what we consider our definition of racism. Now, I don't have the code book, but I do have Dr. Frances Cress Welson's book where she describes racism. So while I'm reading that, if somebody who has the code book, if they can find racism in the code book, and we'll read that definition and we'll decide which one of these definitions we want to use to decide whether these books are racist or not. Okay. So I will read what Dr. Cress Welson's definition was. And it starts at the top: racism equal white supremacy equal apartheid. As Black behavior scientist, a Black behavior scientist and practicing psychiatrist, my own functional definition of racism, white supremacy, is as follows. Racism, white supremacy, is the local and global power system and dynamic structure and maintenance by persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or subconsciously determined, which consists of patterns of perception, logic, symbol formation, thought, speech, action, and emotional response as conducted simultaneously in the areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, for the ultimate purpose of white genetic survival to prevent white genetic annihilation on planet Earth, a planet upon which the vast and overwhelming majority of people are classified as non-white, black, brown, red, yellow, by white-skinned people, and all of the non-white people are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to the genetic recessive white skin. And then it's her signature at the bottom. But do anyone have that code book definition of racism? I think it's on
Yeah,
page
I got it.
322. Okay. Read that, please.
I got it from this is from the Word Guide, so it may be slightly different. But it says use the terms race, racism, and or racist to apply to one, a system of thought, speech, and or a system of thought, speech, and action operated by people who classify themselves as white and who use deceit, violence, and or the threat of violence to subjugate, use, and or abuse people classified or whose function as non-white under conditions that promote the practice of falsehood, non-justice, and non-correctness for the basic purpose of maintaining, expanding, and or refining the practice of white supremacy, racism in all areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war/kind of war. 2, non-just speech, action, or non-action based on the color or non-color of persons and or factors associated with the color, racism, or non-color of persons by white persons against non-white persons during the existence of white supremacy. This is like a,
So
yeah, this is like a two-page definition.
okay, you don't have to read it all, but what I was trying to do is get you to pay attention to, can we use what Neely Fuller classifies his definition as racism? Can we use that?
Yeah, I would say so, because the book definitely features subjugation, because when the word captured was used, and we just see the mistreatment happening, because it does further use the word mistreatment in this explanation. So I would say we could use Neely Fuller's definition,
and we can use Dr. Frances Cress Welson's as well.
I agree.
So we're justified when we say racism. We have both definitions to verify that. Now, I wanted to point out something else. Okay, Scrambled Eggs Super was written in 1955. Okay, The Cat in the Hat, we've not talked about that, but anyway, The Cat in the Hat was written in 1957. Beyond Zebra was written and illustrated in 1955. I saw it on Mulberry Street. It was written in 1939. And I said this to say this. I suspect in the system of racism, white supremacy, it's not personal, it's business, as usual. These books, they banned them, which was a self-ban. It wasn't they banned, it was a self-ban by this particular Dr. Seuss company, right? So their motive, it appears to me, that it's about selling books. If they can make them collector's items, they are worth more. I looked at some of the pricing on it, and some of these books, okay, say okay, let's use Scrambled Eggs Super, right? On Amazon, that books, and it's just Amazon, there ain't other places that could be selling this, okay? But just on Amazon itself, that one book, they have at least 25 that's in stock right now, from last I looked. The first one starts at $195, and the most expensive one went all the way to $6,000. Business as usual in the system of racism, white supremacy. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to buy the book or to buy the book. It's your choice. But if you decide that you want the book as a collector's item, you buy the book, I guess. But I suspect that they not really wanting us to buy this book. They just want rich white people to collect this book because this is what they enjoy, right? But those of us who may already have the book, we're using the book to, maybe read now to understand why these books were self-banned. But like I say, this was already out here. We just now waking up to see it because they did the self-ban. If they had never did the self-ban, we would still be in the dark on these books because nobody had caught this. I hadn't caught it because, like I say, The Cat in the Hat, we read that in the daycare that I worked, but these other books, we didn't read those books, So it's about business as usual. And we have to remember, racism is a trend right now. And anything that's collectible in a trend time is going to be about making money. So, but the money is made at our misery, though. We can't forget that now. It's made at our misery, our suffering, when they choose to put words or pictures to depict the mistreatment, the injustice that they're doing to non-white people worldwide in these various books. So when we look at it, let's not get emotional. Let's just see it for what it is. It's the system of racism, white supremacy, doing business as usual, mocking non-white people. That's all I got.
Thank you, Miss Williams. Anyone like to comment on what Miss Williams has to share? Yeah, very well said. Definitely business as usual. The most successful business ever known in the history of businesses is the business system of white supremacy racism, for sure. Alrighty, I think we could get into our closing comments. Would the younger folks like to start for our closing comments? Ms. Lay, Ms. Ziri, Ms. Eliana. Closing comments.
Well, I just wanted to say I really liked how we decoded this book, and I really like how what Miss Williams said. Yeah, and I like that everyone shared in their comments, and
yeah, I really liked how we decoded it, and yeah.
Um, um, I learned about that black people just want more, more like more justice than black people. Until black people doesn't get justice. And if you say the pledge of allegiance, I just not gonna do the pledge of allegiance because I mean, what I gonna do with the book? Oh, that black people doesn't get justice. They just get no justice. Only black white people get justice. And this book is like extremely racist.
Um, I like the concept of the book and how it teaches the lesson, and I liked all of the people comments that everybody said, and that's it.
Thank you, younger folks, for participating and sharing that insight. My closing comment: I thought this was I definitely learned something new about how refined this system is, and what Miss Williams says. Dr. Seuss was a political cartoonist. Everything is political in a system of white supremacy. Everything is connected to white supremacy, racism, and that is definitely something I have remembered. I'm reminded of when reading this book, decoding and studying this book. Um, yep, they're constantly mocking us, um, and yeah, they'll hide it right in plain sight. We just have to know what we're looking at. Anyone else like to share a closing comment?
My closing comment is just the depiction of the book of how they will go anywhere and do anything because they're never satisfied to function on this system to mistreat people is um, crazy. It's very noticeable in this book if you already know how the system functions, but to program children to understand how this system functions and to keep refining the system is the scariest thing. So we have to train our non-white children to understand that it's a war against y'all to not have the justice that we need in this world right now.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it was mentioned earlier, but whenever you are looking at books, television shows, and there are like humans in the movie or humans in the book, and if there ever are things that are not human, the creators of those books are often imagining those creatures as black people. And I'm not sure if the children know about movies like The Terminator or Predator or Alien, but those images are supposed to represent black people, and I suspect that the creatures in these Dr. Seuss books definitely represent the non-white people who are being dominated all across the planet and all over the known universe. So yeah, this book is definitely suspicious, and I definitely suspect that all of his works are propaganda. Ms. Williams shared earlier that he was a political cartoonist, and if you research some of his old cartoons, they were blatant racist. They weren't like sugar coated. It was just traditional, I guess, racism, white supremacy. That's my closing comments.
All right. Thank you everyone for the share.